All right, so to round out chapter 13 here, we're going to talk about catalysts and how they affect reaction rate and how they cause that effect. All right, and so essentially what they're going to do, zoom out, big picture, they're going to take our activation energy and they're going to drop it. And so there's, a reaction pathway without a catalyst, and then we kind of shorten the jump with a catalyst. And that's going to speed up the rate. And so, that's what you see, is you just see that initial push that you need becomes lessened. And so that's going to cause the reaction rate to speed up. And it's going to do that on the rate determining step. In this case, I have an elementary reaction, one step, but there could be other bumps out here, and it's just going to make it so it goes faster by dropping EA. And so it does that. There's two primary ways. There's probably some other ones I'm not mentioning, but there's the two major routes are it either controls orientation. And so imagine you're trying to put, I'm stealing this directly from a colleague, by the way, I have to admit it, I'm on camera. But imagine you're trying to get a key into a lock from across the room. And you're throwing the key from across the room, right? Randomly, maybe one of those keys will get in there. It's not gonna be the first toss, I'm sure. But eventually, if you have an infinite number of keys and an infinite number of time, statistics say you will get a key to land in that lock. You will throw one hard enough and with the correct orientation that will slide in that lock. But it will definitely go a lot faster and a little easier if you just walk over there and guide it in with your hand, right? And that's what a lot of catalysts do, specifically enzymes. So our biology, or our biochemistry is made up of all these proteins that are helping guide chemical reactions, and that's what they're doing. They're controlling orientations. They're making things possible at body temperature that shouldn't be. They lower the temperature that's required for a reaction to happen at a good rate. Now the other type of approach that enzymes can take is that they stabilize either the original transition state. So when we're pushing it up a hill here, what we're doing is we're forming a transition state. You got to make the transition state to make the reaction happen. You can think of it that way. You got to, like start your car. You got to turn the ignition. The battery's got to get everything going. And so there's that initial amount of work. And that's your car with the starter running is the transition state. You don't drive around everywhere with your starter running, hopefully. Awkward sound if it is. My apologies. But for a moment, your starter's running. And then the car engine starts up. And then it's running. The engine itself is running. Well, it stabilizes, So that's the same thing with chemical reaction. We are forming a transition state. It takes work to do that. We got to push uphill, get the transition state, and then boom, we get to the products. Well, it makes it a shorter trip by either making that transition state less burdensome, or it enables a whole different transition state, a whole different molecule to be stable that's easier to put together under the circumstances created by the catalyst. So this is often done by things like using metals. You do a hydrogenation reaction, you bubble H2 through a unsaturated oil or something like that, or a fat, and you make a saturated fat or saturated oil. And it's a lot easier if you put a chunk of platinum metal in there and you bubble against the platinum metal. That will make the reaction happen much faster, and the catalyst is stabilizing a transition state. So those are the two primary ways. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting about right now that I'm not mentioning. But essentially, it makes the reaction happen faster, and it allows it to happen at lower temperatures. So those are what catalysts do. We'll talk more about catalysts in the next chapter and how they affect equilibrium. So one more to go, and then we are done with the class. So good luck on the exam. Like I said, you want to practice those rate laws. Make sure you're familiar with Arrhenius equation, integrated rate laws, that stuff. And as always, email me or post in the forum if you have any questions.